The day my daughter died, I stopped believing that fairness had anything to do with family. For months, my world had revolved around hospital corridors, specialists, insurance paperwork, and impossible numbers. The operation offered hope, but it came with a cost I couldn't cover alone. I swallowed every ounce of pride I had and asked my parents for help. My father avoided my eyes. My mother squeezed my hand and quietly said, "There's nothing left. We're sorry." I believed them. I sold my car. Friends organized a fundraiser. Coworkers donated vacation days so I could stay beside my daughter. Every dollar felt like a battle against time. It still wasn't enough. She passed away before the surgery could happen. Grief doesn't arrive like a storm. It settles into ordinary moments. An empty bedroom. A birthday that never comes. A favorite song you can't finish listening to. For a long time, I blamed fate. Then, 6 months later, I learned something I was never meant to know. A neighbor congratulated my younger brother on the beautiful house our parents had helped him buy last year. Last year, the same year, they had looked me in the face and told me there was nothing left. I didn't accuse them. I didn't demand explanations. I simply stopped calling. Our conversations became holiday texts with no emotion behind them. My parents complained that I was distant, but neither of them ever asked the question that mattered. What had their decision cost? A year later, my grandfather passed away. He had always been quiet, the kind of man who listened more than he spoke. During my daughter's illness, he visited often, never making promises he couldn't keep. Sometimes he simply sat beside us in silence. At the reading of his will, the atmosphere felt strangely formal. My parents sat beside my brother, expecting a routine afternoon of paperwork. The attorney read through the estate with calm precision, then he stopped. "There is one final instruction from your grandfather." He reached into his briefcase and removed a sealed envelope with my name written across the front. He requested that this be opened here in front of everyone. The room became perfectly still. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a handwritten letter. He wrote that he had learned, months before my daughter died, that my parents had used most of their savings to help my brother purchase his home. They had told him they could not possibly help my child because they wanted to protect his future. He said those words had haunted him. Then came the sentence that shattered me. I could not save my great-granddaughter, but I refused to let the truth be buried with me. Attached to the letter was a folder. Inside were copies of bank transfers, dated records, and a notarized statement he had prepared after confronting my parents himself. The attorney spoke again. "Mr. Harrison instructed me to confirm that these documents are authentic and were independently verified before being placed with his estate." Nobody spoke. For the first time, this wasn't an argument between relatives. It was a documented fact. Then the attorney explained my grandfather's final decision. A trust he had quietly built over many years would pass entirely to me, with one condition. Part of it had to establish a charitable fund that would help families struggling to pay for children's life-saving medical treatment. I couldn't breathe. I wasn't crying because of the money. I was crying because someone had finally said, in writing, that what happened to my daughter mattered. I broke down. A sound escaped me that I didn't recognize. Months of silence, guilt, and unanswered questions poured out all at once. I wasn't screaming at my parents. I was screaming because grief had finally found somewhere to go. Across the table, my mother covered her face. My father stared at the documents without touching them. My brother looked smaller than I had ever seen him, but I couldn't tell whether it was shame or shock. None of them tried to deny anything. There was nothing left to deny. When the meeting ended, my parents approached me. "I don't know if you'll ever forgive us," my mother whispered. I looked at the envelope still resting in my hands. "I lost the person who would have forgiven you most easily." Then I walked away. Months later, the charitable fund approved its first family for emergency assistance. A little girl received the operation she needed. She survived, No victory erased the empty chair at my table. No inheritance gave me another birthday with my daughter. But every time another parent was told that help was available, I felt my grandfather keeping the promise he could never make while she was alive. The truth had arrived too late to save one child. It arrived just in time to save someone else's.